Part 394. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3931. Mo Tian, the first-class saint in the Dark Temple, gradually brightened his eyes. At this moment, the more he talked, the more excited he became. For a while, all kinds of rhythms followed in full swing. Takeoff pending. Excitingly don't want to. With such a pattern, the heart naturally needs to be fully stable. This is the most important thing. Very appropriate and very real. He likes it. The thoughts gradually diverged, and gradually, the pattern naturally opened up. There was an endless smile on his face, and his thoughts fluttered in an all-round way. Everything was silent. Seeing the idiotic smile on Mo Tian's face, Mad Mo couldn't help shaking his head. Hey, this guy just doesn't learn a lesson. Are you still thinking about something good here? When is this? I'm still reminiscing about what's there and what's not in my mind. I really don't know if it's labor and capital what's, or what's wrong. All in all, it's really not good. There is a wave of bells and whistles, the rhythm is fully suppressed in place, it is nothing, just playing. A few hours later, Fang Fan arrived at the place where the red celestial phenomenon was located. What came into view was a blood-red palace. The blood-colored rays of light were even more reflected around the palace, completely dyeing that piece of heaven and earth red. Looking at it at a glance, it inexplicably makes people feel a sense of excitement. At this moment, the sound of breathing gradually became rapid, and his eyes flickered to the extreme. It must be a lie to say that there is no feeling at all at the moment. The impatient heart is following the full thrust, the complexion is gradually rosy, the surprise in the eyes is beyond words, everything is in words. Stimulate. God stone. The surrounding area is full of divine stones. The phantom of the divine stone palace I saw before is this palace. Found it? Fang Fan licked his lips, suddenly his eyes lit up, and then a blush appeared on his face. After going through all kinds of hardships, I finally saw some hope at this moment. Owner. This is the Futu Palace. Master. It's best not to touch the red light casually, otherwise it may bring bad luck. The basalt behemoth Tian shrank his chest, and while talking, his mung-bean eyes were still full of horror and anxiety. Ah! Little monsters just don't have a pattern. What's so scary about red light? Look at your stupid face. Hey! You really have lived for so long in vain. Anyway, it's also the blood of a divine beast, making it look so cowardly. The mumbling sound followed, and while Bai Piao was talking, the sound of complaints gathered in place. Bai Piao and Tian Ke, the giant Suanwu beast, have always been at odds with each other, but whenever they can find an opportunity to fight each other, they will naturally not let it go. I just remind you. If you are so heroic, go. Just rush over. Humph. I want to see what you can evolve into. The muttering sound followed, the posture of gnashing teeth was displayed in place, the eyeballs couldn't help but fully twitched, and the twitching of the corners of the mouth was fully concentrated in place. It is more than words. Rhythmic, fully in place. Stream of consciousness, very apt. That's pretty much it? Suanwu Behemoth Tian began to sneer back. Go and go. What's there to be afraid of? I'm not like some cowardly monsters. Bai Piao held her head high, her face proud, and she was about to walk forward. Click. Click. Ah. 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 Just at this time, several cultivators from the neutral camp couldn't hold back their desire for treasures, and immediately rushed over excitedly, ready to directly enter the Buddha palace to snatch the treasures. But when they entered the place filled with red light, their bodies twisted suddenly, and immediately turned into a puddle of blood under the eyes of everyone. There are several people who entered at one time. Some were directly turned into blood, some demons were directly hooked out, and then crazily began to cut themselves in there, and some simply became insane, and then kowtowed all the time. At the moment, it shows a certain degree of sentient beings. This scene looks a little funny. Good on. Bai Piao couldn't help but swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and then quickly stepped back several steps. At this moment, streaks of cold sweat fell down his forehead, his breathing gradually became rapid, his whole body and mind became completely messed up, his eyes flickered, and his thoughts fluttered to the extreme. His mentality collapsed, his consciousness was confused, and he didn't know what to say at the moment, only endless panic flickered in his mind. Exciting, so exciting. In other words, it's a tingling sensation. If his steps were a little faster, maybe he would be the one who turned into a puddle of blood now. What the hell is this place? It's just that strangers should not enter. What's the use of coming to such a ghost place? I can't get in anyway. It's useless to go. It's still, why go to the surrounding areas to pick some elixir and herbs? Just looking at it, what's the use of it? Bai Piao gritted her teeth, and while talking, couldn't help complaining. What is going to be displayed at the moment is probably that meaning. Besides, you old tortoise, you know it's dangerous, but you still provoked me to use it. Good guy, you are trying to kill the rhythm of the god envoy. You old turtle is really uneasy and kind. This kind of old tortoise should be killed directly. Save yourself from continuing to confuse people here. Bai Piao groaned twice, then glared at Tiank, the giant Suanwua beast, and did it again. As I said before, this place is very weird. You are the one who insisted on rushing there. What can I do? I am also very helpless. The basalt behemoth Tiank shook his chest, his face indifferent. Anyway, that's it, just take a look, generally speaking, it's not a big problem. Fang Fan ignored the two guys bickering here, his eyes had already swept towards the surrounding area. You can't stay here all the time. Although it is not clear how long it will take to enter the relic of the gods, according to the energy fluctuations inside, it will be closed again for at most a month. Before that, Fang Fan still wanted to demolish the palace. Seeing so many sacred stones standing there, how could Fang Fan bear it? Can see, but can't take, this heart is really restless. Such messy thoughts were condensed in the heart, and for a while, followed by a full surge. It's no wonder so many people are waiting here, it seems that it's because of this weird red light that they dare not enter. If it weren't for that, I'm afraid I would have rushed in to grab the treasure. Well, if that's the case, it must be impossible for us to come here as latecomers. The reason why these people haven't left is probably because they are unwilling. It's hard to come here empty-handed after traveling thousands of miles. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3932. Fang Fan's eyes flickered, and at this moment, he guessed the psychology of everyone very closely. That's about it. Just as Fang Fan was thinking, there were bursts of fighting sounds in the distance. Come on. Come on. Fight. I'm afraid of you. Keep going. Aren't you trying to find fault? Hit. 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 Labor and management will not beat you to death today. The familiar violent voice reached Fang Fan's ears, and Fang Fan's eyes flickered. Fang Fan. It's your master. This guy is over there. Did this guy start a fight with someone? This bastard, he doesn't stop anywhere. Wu Meiling, deputy head of the Guangming Academy, suddenly had a bright eye, and then her face turned red, and she said excitedly. Everyone then rushed towards not far away, and immediately saw Tai Shuja fighting a Protoss man. It looked like he was having fun. At present, Shui Wanren, the deputy head of Guangming Academy, stood there helplessly. Seeing Fang Fan and others coming, Shui Wanren also walked over. For it. Deputy Palace Master, what's the matter? Why did my master fight with the Protoss? They don't understand the language. Can this work? The corner of Fang Fan's mouth twitched, feeling extremely incredible. Ghost knows what this guy is thinking. This guy said that the Protoss chased you down before, so he wants to kill him to avenge you. No, that's it. Shui Wanren pointed to the Protoss cultivator who was fighting Taishiji not far away. Fang Fan glanced over, and it was indeed somewhat familiar. Tianlin City's second-class god general could. Weak demigod realm. Strong combat power, he is a brave warrior. Kathy noticed Fang Fan's gaze, and immediately told the guy's corresponding identity and so on. Fang Fan's eyes flickered slightly, his thoughts fluttered uncontrollably, and his facial expressions changed vividly. Weak demigod of the Protoss. Does my master have such fighting power now? His previous epiphany actually increased his combat power by so much. As Fang Fan spoke, he couldn't help showing a look of astonishment on his face. Being able to do this is already very strong. One must know that the Grand Uncle G at this moment has not successfully survived the Demigod Thunder disaster in name. Although he survived the Demigod Thunder tribulation, he disturbed the Demigod Thunder calamity, so it wasn't really over. At that time, what he suddenly realized was the esoteric truths such as Prisoner Sky and Thunderbolt. When the Demigod Thunder calamity was brewing, he rushed directly to the Thunder group and absorbed all the lightning power inside, so that these thunders had no chance to fall at all. In this way, although he did not really survive the Demigod Thunder calamity, after the energy of the thunder and lightning was swallowed into his body by Taishiji, it tortured his body extremely well. This is no ordinary thing. Fang Fan's eyes flickered, his thoughts fluttered ahead, and his expression changed extremely quickly. Stay on your own. It just depends on your physical fitness. This guy was abused by the weak demigod of the Protoss on the opposite side for countless times. Normal people may have collapsed long ago. But this guy doesn't know what's going on, he's actually getting bigger and braver. But it is difficult to suppress the weak demigod of the Protoss at the moment. After all, the weak demigods of the Protoss are much stronger than our weak demigods. Now Taishiji's combat power is indeed comparable to our normal weak demigods. Even stronger. Shui Wanren, deputy head of Guangming Academy, blinked, and then admitted helplessly. For it. Deputy Palace Master, who is stronger now compared to you and my master? Fang Fan squinted his eyes, and immediately asked. He needed to know more details, so as to be able to standardize his combat power. Cough, 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 cough. Shui Wanren coughed suddenly, as if surprised by this question. He wants to fight me, but he's still far away. This guy is just relying on blood and courage to fight. Battle like this is too exhausting for my body. Humph. So what if I agree? My body has already collapsed. Such a win is meaningless at all. Shui Wanren shook his head, then stood aside and spoke confidently. However, this confidence is only in words. From Shui Wanren's words, Fang Fan also heard some lack of confidence. Looking at it this way, if my master goes all out to attack, Deputy Mansion Master Shui Wanren's weak demigod might not be able to handle it. So, I have added a strong weak demigod to my side. When the time comes to fight against this chaotic situation, I will be more confident. Fang Fan's eyes flickered, his thoughts fluttered to the extreme. At this time, the large troops of the light camp also followed. The one who bears the brunt is naturally Wang Tu, the first-class saint in the light camp. This guy now leads all the practitioners in the light camp. Without the Pope, it is naturally the world of the first-class saints. In addition to Wang Tu, The first-class saint who led the team this time was also named Yuan Juxiang. But this Yuan Juxiang obviously doesn't like to manage things, so the power basically falls on Wang to call, call, call. As soon as Wang Tu saw Fang Fan, he immediately became angry, and his face gradually became sinister and dull. Ever since he met Fang Fan, he felt that nothing was comfortable for him. Any good thing can be disturbed. In this heart, resentment has long been followed. He tried to kill Fang Fan countless times, but failed again and again. Gradually, he has completely become irritable. The messy heart is now bursting out, and the sinister face is no longer concealed. Kill. Kill him for me. Give it to me. Wang Tu, the first-class saint in the Temple of the Light Alliance, took a deep breath, and his voice gradually became harsh. Saint Wang, what are you doing? What's the situation now, don't you know? The overall situation is the most important. Do we still have to fight among ourselves? Do we still need to consume our own vitality? Don't even look at what we have become now. The Protoss and the people of the Dark Temple are watching. Yuan Juxiang, another first-class saint in the Temple of the Alliance of Light, couldn't help but frown and said rather unhappily. He didn't want to help Fang Fan, it was mainly out of his own personal purpose. He, Yuan Juxiang, is a first-class saint in the Temple of the Light Alliance, but he is also the old pavilion master of Feiyu Pavilion. He needs to ensure that the large group of the Light Camp can be stabilized, so that the Feiyu Pavilion practitioners behind him can obtain the greatest benefits. Relying on a big tree, it can grow better. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3933. Now that there are wolves in front and tigers in back, can you just mess around? Isn't it courting death to mess around? For the Protoss and the Dark Temple, they can't wait to kill their competitors quickly. It's too late to hang on at this moment. How can you send him to your door to die? What do you think? Has the brain really followed what? Yuan Juxiang snorted coldly, all he cared about was the interests of himself and his Feiyu Pavilion. If you can get closer to his interests in this area, then you can say anything and do anything. But if it can't be done, then there is nothing to say, and they will become enemies directly. Once this attitude is manifested, everything else will follow in full display. This willpower is real. Yuan Cheng. This Fang Fan is not a good thing. His existence is very likely to ruin our event. Although they belong to the Light Camp, you haven't seen what happened before? He doesn't have any sense of belonging to our Temple of the Light Alliance. Once this kind of person gives him a chance, he may jump right away. When the time comes to seize the divine ladder, it might trip us up. If that's the case, the situation is too bad. Yuan Cheng, why can't you listen to me? We must kill this guy first, and completely eliminate these external unfavorable factors first, so that we can handle things better. That's what His Majesty the Pope meant. Does Saint Yuan still want to disobey the will of His Majesty the Pope? Yuan Cheng, this is no small matter. Yuan Cheng, no matter what, I still hope you can think twice before acting. Threaten. A naked threat. Now it's undisguised. He directly revealed this matter. Even, the Pope of Light was moved out. It has to be said that Wang's disciple Fang Fan's murderous intentions really never stopped. As time went by, this murderous intention became more and more inflated. For a moment, the infinite brilliance flickered in their respective eyes, and all the thoughts were silent. Very real and very relevant. Her Majesty the Pope. Stop talking about the Pope's crown. I only know that His Majesty the Pope didn't personally tell me to cooperate with you in killing Fang Fan. Originally, everyone is from the light camp. Isn't it good to get along well? What kind of split and vendetta do you have to do here? Humph. Saint Wang, I know that you and Fang Fan have a grudge, but I hope you can think clearly about this matter, and don't act recklessly. This is no small matter. If you have to take revenge, you can do it yourself. I won't stop you, but it has nothing to do with me. Yuan Juxiang, the first-class sage of the Temple of the Light Alliance, folded his hands on his chest, with a calm expression on his face. This matter has stabilized the rhythm. The others are all bells and whistles, it doesn't matter, just keep a more stable mentality. Is this really the case? Yuancheng, I have always treated you with courtesy, is this how you want to repay me? Yuancheng, His Majesty the Pope hopes that we can cooperate sincerely, and we can't make a mess right now. Yuancheng, you'd better explain clearly what you want to express. The posture of gnashing teeth is in place, and the killing light in the eyes is gradually piercing in place, as if to obliterate everything in front of him. So heartfelt, without words. The feeling of oppression is very strong. How? Looking at the meaning of Saint Wang, it means that the old man is not happy? Is it possible that the old man is also eradicated? If you insist on doing this, I can't help it, and this old man can only fight to the death with you. Yuan Juxiang looked indifferent, who is afraid of whom? Everyone is a strong demigod, so the big deal is just a fight? Who wins and who loses is not sure. You snored. Unreasonable. The corners of Wang Tu's mouth twitched, although he was extremely upset, but since the matter has developed to this point, it seems that there is no chance to turn it around directly. At the moment, I can only follow the silence silently. Wang Tu glared at Fang Fan's direction viciously, wishing he could swallow Fang Fan alive, but it was really difficult for him to rely on himself. Hateful. Why is this guy so lucky? Even the demigods of the Protoss protect him. If he hadn't been guarded by two weak demigods from the Protoss, I would have killed him before. Why wait until now? Snored. Now we really have to think about it in the long run. If something happens, the situation may collapse. That's a big problem. If the rhythm is messed up, there is no doubt that you will die. Just let him live for a while. When the fight for the god ladder starts, the two weak demigods of the Protoss beside him will naturally be distracted, and I will kill them with one blow. This son, you must not stay. It will definitely become my confidant's trouble in the future. If something happens to me, it must be because of him. So, I have to be more vigilant. Wang Tu is very clear about his calculations, thinking silently in his heart at this moment, his eyes are flickering. All kinds of thoughts were condensed in the heart, and all of a sudden, they exploded in place. There are thousands of thoughts, and everything is silent. The number of people who gathered before the Buddha palace was increasing, but everyone could only sigh in relief. Blocked by this weird red light, they really had no way to jump over it directly. During this process, there were indeed many people who did not believe in evil, and wanted to rush through the red light blockade and enter the pagoda palace, but without exception, they all ended up extremely miserable. The most direct thing is to turn into blood directly. There are also people whose spirits have been greatly impacted, and they are directly stupid. Under such circumstances, naturally no one would dare to act rashly again. After all, this is to gamble with your own life. If you win the bet, you do have a chance to be the first to eat crabs, but how big is this chance? No one wants to be a sword in someone else's hand. Time passed by every minute and every second. The gathering crowd is getting bigger and bigger. Although they couldn't enter the Futuk Palace in front of them and could only stare blankly, these people still didn't want to leave. They seemed to be waiting for a miracle. Many people even started to set up tents directly, preparing to spend the night here. Why? What the hell is this? Is this God's relic clearly a prank? How can you do that? It's not interesting at all. Really, one head and too big. Humming around, the whole person is drunk. Oh my God. How far is this going to go? It's too difficult. The muttering sound followed, and the sound of complaining continued. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3934. Bai Piao was originally impatient. How could he continue to stay here now? In my heart, I don't know what it means to be impatient. At this moment, his face was dark, and his brain was trembling to the extreme. The rhythm is clear, the consciousness explodes, and I don't know what it means at all. I don't know what to say at the moment, just staring at everything in front of me numbly. Why are you so impatient? Others can be quiet, but you have too many things. Wait. Wait obediently. What's the rush? Can you study hard with your brother Fang Fan? How can people be calm and calm? Tai Shiji stared at Bai Piao, then reprimanded him. Bai Piao. When did Fang Fan become my senior brother? Didn't we worship under your command at the same time? Good guy, can this be forcibly suppressed? Master, can we let go of this eccentric thought for a while? If you do this, how can you do it? Bai Piao's face was dark, while talking, his brain was trembling rapidly. The more I think about it, the more irritable I become, and the more I think about it, the more disturbed I become. Mess and gibberish. If you are stronger than Fang Fan, you can also be a senior brother. That's my rule. Whoever is stronger is right. Tai Shiji waved his hand and said calmly. It does not matter. What is there to care about? Calm down mentally, it's not a big problem. Bai Piao can be considered eloquent, but at the moment he is really powerless to complain. What can he do when he encounters such a master who is less reasonable than him? I can only bear it silently. Boom. Rumble. Just as everyone was waiting anxiously, suddenly, there was a burst of bombing in the pagoda palace. At this moment, a phantom of a beautiful girl suddenly appeared in the sky above the pagoda palace. It is so beautiful that it makes people want to take a breath for a while. Everything in front of him is slowly unfolding. What it is? What a beautiful woman. Damn. If only this were my woman. What the hell are you thinking about? Hush, are you looking for death? A girl suddenly appeared in this place. Still standing on top of the pagoda palace, do you think it's normal? What the hell, is it human? It's a hammer. We couldn't enter the Futuk palace before, but now there is a woman standing on it. Who is this woman? We don't even know each other. Hold on. Don't get fooled. My mentality is broken, I feel that there is a big problem. I also feel that the problem is not small, the key is how to deal with it now. Why don't you go up and pull this woman down to have a look? Say hello to him. Why does it feel like there is no response? Ah, something is really wrong, and the problem is definitely not small. Crazy moment. The murderous intent has appeared. Maybe our opportunity is coming soon. At first I thought it was just a phantom, but I didn't expect it to be a real person, it's so real. It should be just a divine soul. I don't know how long this ray of spirit has existed. It's really scary. These many visions and reactions have already shown that this must be a treasure. Otherwise, why would there be so many twists and turns? Heh. Who can say for sure about this kind of thing? Anyway, it's true to stabilize the wave now. There were endless shouts from the surroundings, and for a while, there was a lot of tension. This may be the moment to break the game. Everyone held their breath and didn't dare to utter the slightest sound at the moment, so they just stayed here silently. Fang Fan's heart trembled silently as he looked at the girl's soul standing on the Futu Palace. Immediately, the whole person was in extreme numbness. How can this be? No, I cannot. Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao is clearly staying in my small world of Shushan Pavilion. Fang Fan muttered to himself, his expression unpredictable. Boy Fang Fan, do you think so too? Isn't this the little girl who was by your side all the time? Speaking of which, this little girl's health is not very good, and you put her in the small world of Shushan Pavilion to recuperate for a long time. Bai Piao has been following Fang Fan for long enough, so he has naturally met Yun Xiao Xiao. Yun Xiao Xiao is Yun Yun's younger sister. When she first saw this little girl, she was in poor health. Later, she followed Fang Fan all the time, and liked to call Fang Fan Brother Fan. She was a quirky little girl. In order to help Fang Fan survive the catastrophe, he fell into a coma for a while, and Fang Fan spent some divine power to revive him later. After that, Xiaoxiu's health was not very good all the time, but she gradually recovered a lot after taking care of her for such a long time. Fang Fan's eyes flickered, his expression was unpredictable. Is it just an accident? Fang Fan, did you notice something? If you notice something, it doesn't hurt to say it. This girl won't have any entanglements with you, will she? Is this girl also a true god? Have you ever had a grudge against you? Is this girl like the goddess of the starry night or like the goddess of Athena? It's okay if you are like the goddess Athena, the goddess Athena comes to hug you every time. If you're like goddess Xingyi, it's over. Goddess Xingyi will kill you every time she visits the mortal world. You kid, you once actually tarnished the innocence of goddess Starry Night, what a bastard you are. Shui Wanren, deputy head of the Guangming Academy, couldn't help complaining while talking. While speaking, the eyeballs kept rolling, and the voice was full of emotion. There is no need to say more about the other ones that are there or not. In terms of mind, they must follow suit. Otherwise, the rhythm would really become chaotic. This is of course not a good thing. It's messed up, but there's nothing left. What's the point of talking about this old thing? Fang Fan rubbed his forehead with a helpless expression. The deputy palace master is not very particular about his speech. Is this kind of thing clear in your heart? Talk too much, it doesn't make much sense. It's better than anything else to be more stable in mentality. Keep your mind steady, this is the most important thing. Basic rhythm, not a big deal. Ah. Are you still embarrassed, kid? Then why didn't you think of embarrassment when you messed up with these goddesses? You boy, this luck is too strong. Hey. It's hard for my concubine Xiang. Why did you pick a playboy like you back then? Why? Shui Wanren gritted his teeth and couldn't help complaining from the side. Fang Fan rubbed his head, looking quite helpless at the moment. There are so many words, there is absolutely no need to say more. Blind and confused. Messy, nothing to say. Of course, none of this is serious business now. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3935. The purpose of coming here is to demolish the Buddha palace in front of us. It's just that right now you can't even get close to the Buddha palace, so how can you play with it? Boy Fang Fan, why don't you bring that little girl out? That little girl is totally different from the girl in the Futu palace. Perhaps there is some connection between them. When the time comes, go through the back door, and we might be able to get in. Bai Piao raised his eyebrows, and immediately proposed a method. Relatively speaking, quite clever. Fang Fan's eyes flickered slightly, his expression changed for no reason, his thoughts gradually fluttered, and everything was kept silent. Mess and chaos. Mess. Now these are all messed up. In the end, it was impossible to resist. It felt like an endless sense of oppression swept over him, and he was so oppressed that he couldn't breathe at all. That kind of taste is really not very pleasant. For a moment, my thoughts were confused, my thoughts collapsed, and everything was silent. Fang Fan was lost in thought. Some things can be done and some things cannot be done. There are many choices right now. If Xiao Xiao is brought out, will it have any impact on her? Xiaoxiao's physique is a god-killing system, and she has also awakened the law of spirit by herself. Anyway, many aspects are different from ordinary people. What if after Xiao Xiao was summoned, the woman at the top of the Futuk Palace suddenly came to kill her? How should she deal with herself? At that time, all roads will be cut off. Fang Fan gritted his teeth, his breathing gradually became rapid, black lines gathered on his forehead, and everything was kept silent. Messed up. Totally messed up. No. Xiao Xiao can't come out yet. I can't put her at risk. Fang Fan shook his head with a determined look on his face. Forehead. Why? Pity. Then we may have to wait here. When will this thing be big? Bai Piao looked at the sky numbly, then sighed leisurely, and his eyeballs could not help but roll as he spoke. Speechless, nothing to say. Suddenly, Fang Fan felt a pain in his heart. This was Xiaoxiao's voice transmission to his own thoughts. Brother Fan. I want to go out. I seem, as if I felt something attracting me. Brother Fan. A familiar voice sounded in Fang Fan's mind. Fang Fan's body trembled suddenly, and his breathing couldn't help but become rapid. His impatience was gradually opening up, and for a while, Fang Fan was completely confused. You know, Xiao Xiao is currently in his small world of Shushan Pavilion. Across the boundary, can you still feel something? Fang Fan was horrified. Did he provoke something that shouldn't be provoked? Fang Fan originally didn't want Xiao Xiao to come out to take risks, but now it was Xiaoxiao's request, and she seemed so eager. Fang Fan hesitated for a while. My thoughts trembled slightly, and the picture in front of me was gradually unfolding into place. Open. Fang Fan silently opened the door to the small world of Shushan Pavilion, and then led Xiao Xiao out. Brother Fan. Xiao Xiao danced excitedly when she saw Fang Fan. Immediately, he put his hands on Fang Fan's neck, and his whole body immediately jumped up. That joy is the most real feeling from the heart. Feeling the position for a while, the smiles on the face grew more and more. At the same time, Fang Fan suddenly felt a chill on his back, as if some terrifying existence suddenly focused on him. He didn't know if it was a hallucination or something, but Fang Fan felt that the girl above the pagoda palace seemed to turn her eyes and stare at him all the time. There is eagerness in the eyes, and there is a sense of madness and crushing. Fang Fan took a deep breath, his eyes flickered rapidly, and his expression changed rapidly. The situation is very problematic. The situation is not right. Among them, there must be tricks. Ah! Fang Fan frowned suddenly, his body trembled in place, and drops of sweat began to fall from his forehead. At this moment, Fang Fan felt as if some powerful spiritual force had pierced into his sea of consciousness. Because the speed was too fast, the automatic antivirus program in Fang Fan's body hadn't been activated yet. Brother Fan. Brother Fan, what's wrong with you? Go away. You go away. Don't provoke my brother Fan. Xiao Xiao gritted her silver teeth, and then gave the air a vicious look. At this time, Fang Fan's splitting headache seemed to be relieved a lot, and his whole body gradually became more relaxed. At least he didn't feel the extreme pain like before. The corner of Fang Fan's mouth twitched, his eyes flickered, his mind was full of thoughts, and his consciousness was extremely chaotic. This place is so weird. The Futuk Palace is open. All spirits worship. At the same time, the girl who looked exactly like Xiao Xiao standing in the air above the Futuk Palace suddenly started singing. As she chanted, the surrounding red rays of light began to disappear little by little. At a glance, it's as if it never happened. At this moment, silently followed to feel it, and there was a trace of astonishment in his eyes involuntarily. Right now, it does feel weird. Why did you suddenly call it like this? This is far from imaginary. Changed, everything changed with it. It's just that even if the red light has disappeared at this moment, everyone dare not step in casually. Who knows if this is a trap? If it passed and was killed, wouldn't it be a blood loss? Still need to wait. Just wait for this weird situation to change a bit. Otherwise, I will always feel cold and sweaty now. The strange feeling came again, and I didn't know what to say at the moment. At this moment, the girl standing on top of the Buddha Palace spoke again. Futuk Palace. The 18th floor. Go up to the 9th floor. Make a living. Go down to the 9th floor. It's a dead end. Break through the upper 9 floors. Swing down the 9th floor. The divine ladder appears. The palace gate is open. The way to break through the barrier begins. Click, click. At the same time, the thick and simple bronze gate of the Futuk Palace in front of him actually began to open little by little, revealing the gloomy scene inside. At this time, everyone looked again, and the girl standing on top of the Futuk Palace had disappeared. When did it disappear? I didn't pay attention, as if it disappeared suddenly. It's terrible. It's weird and inexplicable. The words she said are all messed up, can you understand? If I can understand, why do I still say such nonsense? I don't understand a word. Probably it means let us break through the barrier. Didn't you tell me? There are 9 floors above the Futuk Palace, and 9 floors below? A total of 18 floors. There are 18 floors, that's hell. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3936. Suddenly there were bursts of discussions around. Before, I was in a hurry to rush into it, but now I am not in a hurry anymore. All of them are thinking hard, for fear of being cheated. But someone has to be the first to try. When the first person arrived in front of the Pagoda Palace and did not suffer any attack, everyone's minds became agitated. No danger. Come on. Baby is right in front of us. Sprint. Full sprint. It's so humming exciting. The divine ladder. The divine ladder must be inside. Brothers. Brothers go straight in. All kinds of shouts continued one after another, as if everything in front of him was about to be completely shattered into ashes. Such a state is now fully erupting. The sense of oppression is gradually sufficient. When the treasure is right in front of your eyes, there are almost no people who can really control themselves. Everyone has their own extremely greedy desires. Paying for your desires at the moment. Stab. Keep stabbing. Such an impetuous heart is erupting bit by bit at this moment, as if it wants to wash away everything around it. Boy Fang Fan. Come on. They all rushed in. Good guy. If you don't rush, it will be too late. Boy Fang Fan. Speed, speed up. Bai Biao glanced forward, and his eyes turned red immediately, as if he was about to charge forward violently. I don't think it's that simple. After tossing around for so long, with the red light and the girl at the top of the Pagoda Palace, how could all the danger just disappear like that? Not much else to say, are you willing to believe it? Don't you think there are many crises in this? Rushing in now is very likely to become cannon fodder. Not in a hurry. If this treasure is really so easy to be snatched away, it's not a treasure at all. Didn't the girl standing at the top of the Buddha Palace just now say that the Buddha Palace has 18 floors? The upper 9 floors, the lower 9 floors. It may not be that simple to climb up. Fang Fan's eyes flickered slightly, his thoughts gradually fluttered, and his expression changed in a very real way. Especially at times like this, you can't be reckless. A little carelessness, the whole world collapses. When the time comes, big things will happen. Staying calm is the foundation of everything. The world in front of Fang Fan's eyes seemed to brighten up little by little, and everything went without saying. Fang Fan is right. Before everything is clear, don't be reckless. If you make a slight mistake, you can't turn back. Bai Piao. Don't disturb the army's morale by bluffing here. If the treasure is destined for us, it will naturally be ours. If there is no chance, if you want to fight forcibly, it will only be a dead end. Shui Wanren, deputy head of Guangming Academy, stared at Bai Piao, and at this moment he agreed with Fang Fan's opinion. Just be biased. Why? I figured it out, just you guys, one counts as the other, all of you have been brainwashed by Fang Fan. Too eccentric. Everything Fang Fan says is right, and everything I say is wrong. What is the reason for this? Ha 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 ha. When the baby is snatched away, you just wait and cry. I've told you so much, but no one believes me. Too difficult. Bai Piao muttered, and couldn't help complaining from the side. During the speech, the gesture of gnashing teeth flashed in an all-round way, and everything was silent. With such a posture, it is fully displayed in place, and the endless light in the eyes is flickering. At this moment, more and more people entered the pagoda palace. This Futuk palace can actually hold it? I have to say, this thing is really amazing. Fang Fan's eyes flickered, his thoughts fluttered, his expression was unpredictable, and the thoughts deep in his eyes were bursting out little by little. For a moment, there was a strong sense of explosion. At the moment, standing at the door, one could clearly hear the cheers inside. Upon hearing the cheers, Bai Piao couldn't help it anymore. This guy was already impatient, how could he bear this? He made a gesture to sprint inward. At the critical moment, Fang Fan intercepted this guy again. Just know the impulse. Fang Fan looked helpless. Why? The impulsiveness is a bit too much, you know? A stable mentality is the most important thing. If you pull your hips, you will be completely cold. Ah! So many bats. Bloody bat. Go away. Go away. Bats suck blood. Blood sucks. Crazy. All crazy. Poisonous. It hurts, I don't want it. I don't want it either. What the hell are these? Get out of the way. Get out of the way, everyone. Bastards. They're all bastards. All kinds of horrified shouts swept across the room, as if they wanted to wipe everything away. Immediately, many practitioners poured out from the Buddha Palace. Vaguely, countless bats could be seen surging frantically. When these bats came to the gate of the Buddha Palace, most of them turned back. There is also a small group of more vicious bats that continue to charge towards the outside of the Pagoda Palace. Ka ka ka. When these bats left the gate of the Buddha Palace, they turned into a piece of fly ash. It was as if it was fried in a frying pan first, and then crushed directly by a heavy object into fine pieces. It's probably like that. Invisibly, it gives people a sense of despair deep in their hearts. Feeling silently, the whole person fell into ignorance. Completely overwhelmed at the moment. Feeling all this silently, then swallowing saliva frantically, his thoughts were immediately disordered, and the rhythm completely collapsed. An impatient heart, let alone talk to anyone. Everything, followed by silence. Technology 2. It's over. The cool moonlight is being fully practiced to the end. Such a surging idea was crushed to the extreme. Nothing to say, nothing to say. For it. That bat looks a little weird. Why do they look uncoordinated one by one? That body is normal, it's just why the head looks so huge. Hiss. Are all these bats big-headed dolls? Bai Piao shrank his neck and stepped back. At the moment, he didn't yell and rushed inside. At this moment, the entrance of the Futuk Palace is already full of floating corpses. Going in feels like going to die. Who can hold on to this shit? Rhythm and so on must collapse, otherwise it will really be over. Knowing that there are tigers in the mountains, why go in there? Although Bai Piao is greedy for money, he also knows that a gentleman loves money in a proper way. A gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3937. Seeing the chaos inside the Futuk Palace, the cultivators who had not yet entered the palace looked at each other in blank dismay, and some dared not rush inside. In fact, most people have the same mentality as Bai Piao. There is not much difference in essence. Very real and very clear. Fang Fan's eyes flickered slightly, his thoughts gradually fluttered, and his expression changed very realistically. It's almost there now, we can go over. Fang Fan shrugged, then smiled slightly, and stepped forward. What? Fang Fan boy. What kind of brain circuit do you have? Didn't you see people dying inside? Your boy, you are probably really crazy. Call. Did you see it over there? Just die a lot. You, what did you do in the past? Fang Fan boy, let me tell you, you boy must not be reckless. This is going to cause a big problem. Boy Fang Fan, let's stay here and take a look at the situation, and see what direction it will develop in the future. Bai Piao looked around, and wanted to check the wind direction again, for fear that there would be a little accident and he would fall into it completely. The chaotic consciousness is erupting in an all-round way. It feels like nothing but total destruction. Look, that's what happened. Very apt. Wealth and wealth are sought in danger. Actually, the first wave of danger has been released. Since I chose to enter this relic of the gods, I was naturally prepared to experience risks from the beginning. But how to say this kind of thing, the danger is the danger, just avoid it as much as possible. Some dangers that cannot be avoided, naturally we can only face them. That's all. Fang Fan smiled, with an indifferent smile on his face. For a moment, his footsteps moved forward silently, his eyes turned slightly, and there seemed to be many thoughts floating in his mind. Right now, it's really interesting. Walking forward, the howling of ghosts and wolves became more intense. Inside, all those floating around were bloody bats with big heads. These bats should have stayed in this ghost place for too long, so they seemed a little mutated. Except for some cultivators who couldn't bear the environment here and fled, the vast majority of cultivators are actually still fighting here. They all want to attack forward with all their might. There is a step ahead. Follow the steps, it seems that you can directly enter a higher level. The first floor of the pagoda palace seems to have no treasures, except for these blood-colored bats, which are still bats. Scarlet bats are indeed terrifying, but there will be a day when they will be completely wiped out. Just like now, the number is getting smaller and smaller. Immediately, it was completely wiped out. On the ground, a pile of dead bodies. There are these blood-colored bats, as well as the corpses of practitioners. Every step forward is laid with blood. Such a state is inexplicably frightening. At this moment, I feel it silently, and there is an extreme sense of pain all over my body. All of a sudden, my thoughts were completely messed up, I didn't know what to say, and I didn't know what will to express. Call. Finally killed. These ghosts are really hateful. Snort. Go. Let's keep going. Climbing up this step, there must be treasures on it. Even a divine ladder. I have a very strong hunch that all the divine ladders should be in this Buddha palace. As long as we can turn this Buddha palace upside down, we can find it. Wang Tu, the first-class saint in the Temple of the Light Alliance, licked his lips, and then hurriedly cheered from the side. While speaking, the eyes flickered wildly, as if they were about to crush everything around them into pieces. Such a crazy will is breaking out to the extreme bit by bit at this moment. The sense of sprint is very real. Although the others didn't speak directly, their thoughts were not too different. In order to be able to get close to the water and towers, everyone is the first to get the moon. They all strode forward quickly, preparing to fly directly to the second floor of the Buddha Palace. It's just that when they had this idea just now, their feet seemed to be filled with lead, and they couldn't fly at all. At this moment, stepping up the steps little by little, I feel like there is infinite oppression on my body. Why do I feel like I'm carrying a huge mountain on my back? What's the situation? Yuan Juxiang, another first-class saint in the Temple of the Light Alliance, looked stunned, his eyes could not help flickering, and the sound of breathing gradually became more appropriate. This time, the willpower gradually exploded in his mind, and for a while, his steps were flowing, and he couldn't control himself at all. My thoughts have long since become extremely chaotic. The chaotic feelings are suppressed in place, and there is sound when there is no sound. Too much mess. It seems that this pagoda palace has been specially set up. It seems to be difficult to sprint directly to the top of the pagoda palace in one go. It's not easy for the first layer to cross the second layer. Fang Fan's eyes flickered slightly, and his expression changed very vividly. Fang Fan and the others walked over directly, ready to feel the pressure here. There is indeed a lot of pressure. Shui Wanren frowned, with a distressed expression on his face. There are only about 20 steps from the first floor to the second floor. But when they stepped up to the 7th step, half of the people in Guangming Academy collapsed, and they didn't have the strength to continue climbing up. Their whole bodies were shaking crazily, and that posture was extremely real. For a moment, he was completely immersed in it and couldn't extricate himself. The messy feelings are being completely suppressed. Is it just an accident to co-author those bloody bats? Did you rely on the pressure of this step to brush people? Huh? If that's the case, it's more interesting. There's something wrong here. Why do I feel no pressure? It's easy. Old tortoise, I see you are like this, can you not move anymore? A tortoise is a tortoise. Look at your tortoise speed, it's too hip. Fancy show. The sound of complaints followed in full, and I couldn't help but rolled my eyes for a while, with a very sincere expression and a sincere gesture. Bai Piao walked up and down, bouncing up and down, without any pressure. At this moment, even a strong man like Grand Uncle Shui Wanren is under some pressure. It is indeed a bit difficult to be as indifferent as Bai Piao. As for the basaltic behemoth Tiank, its body was already trembling with the distance. It's not just physical, but partly psychological. The psychological pressure invaded, and the whole person was in a kind of extreme ignorance. At the moment, I couldn't even utter a word, and just kept buzzing and trembling, and I didn't know anything else. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3938. Master, Master. I can't do it anymore. I really can't hold it anymore. Master, cough, cough cough cough. Master, I'm about to reveal my original body. I'm going to grow bigger. The basalt behemoth Tiank trembled his lips, and then he couldn't help panting violently. If it can hold on, there is no way that the giant Suanwea beast will look like this. Apparently, the Suanwea behemoth has indeed collapsed somewhat. Everything at the moment seems so real. You let go of your consciousness. I'll take you to Shushan Pavilion Small World. If you can't hold on, don't hold on. I'll call you out again when I need it. Fang Fan pondered for a while, then moved his mind slightly, and directly summoned the giant Suanwea beast Tiank into place. At this moment, Fang Fan still had a different expression on his face, and the complex expression on his face was beyond words. When he stepped up the steps, he didn't seem to feel any special sense of oppression, he was very relaxed. So is Xiao Xiao. Another easier one is Bai Biao. Xiao Xiao has the physique of killing gods, and the girl who appeared in the sky above the Futuk Palace looks exactly the same as Xiao Xiao. Maybe there is a reason for this? That's probably how it should be. As for Bai Biao, is it because his god of thunder is supporting him? As for Fang Fan himself, he also owns the virtual god of desolation. In the face of the coercion of those strong men, those who have a god can face it calmly. Maybe this principle is also applied at this moment? Fang Fan's eyes flickered slightly, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. At this moment, perhaps this is the only explanation. Although it sounds a bit nonsense, but maybe, that's it. After crossing all the 20 steps on the first floor, most of the people in Guangming Academy collapsed and stayed below. Only about 10 to 20% of the people successfully boarded the second floor. Of course, the top 10 legions under Fang Fan's command naturally held on. After all, they are all quasi-demigod existences at this moment. At this moment, the door on the second floor was still tightly closed, and the people who came up could only stay at the door, and then looked at each other, looking around, not knowing what to say for a while, and they were very numb. The expression also seemed extremely abrupt invisibly. They all went down. What's the situation? Why do you feel something is wrong? This thing, there is a big problem. Tricked us up, and then stayed in this ghost place. There's nothing in this damn place. Let's stay here with a hammer. For it. Boy Fang Fan. Take a look. These steps, the steps have disappeared. Bai Biao looked around, and if something happened, he would be the first to see it. At this moment, Bai Biao was bluffing, gritted his teeth in astonishment and said. The change of expression was very real, black lines flashed across the forehead, and his thoughts were completely messed up. He couldn't say a word at the moment, so he could only scan the surroundings ignorantly, his face turned red little by little, and then in a state of extreme numbness. Everything in chaos is suddenly breaking out in China. The steps, disappeared. It's disappearing little by little. These steps seem to have turned into clusters of extraordinarily pure energy. These pure energies are covering us. Fang Fan's eyes flickered for an instant, and he felt extremely irritated for a while. At that moment, it seemed as if he had lost consciousness. I don't know how long it has passed, but when consciousness gradually regained its place, the whole person was stunned. Scanning everything around him, he gasped for breath. My cultivation base. 6-star high-level sanctuary. From the 6-star initial sanctuary realm, it has directly increased by 2 levels. Is there such a good thing? Isn't this a dream? The corner of Fang Fan's mouth twitched, and then he couldn't help but glance around. As he spoke, his eyes flickered, and his expression changed in a very real way. This time the thoughts are in place, and everything is silent. Interesting, indeed interesting. The more you look, the more you feel. For a moment, I wanted to say something, but I couldn't say it. Have your cultivation levels improved? Fang Fan scanned his surroundings with a playful smile on his face. I have been promoted to the Supreme Saint Venerable Realm. Promoted a level. How is this possible? Why is it like this? I just didn't feel like I was promoted. Suddenly increased cultivation. This is too evil. This cultivation base, can't you want it? Chu Ceci glanced around, and then couldn't help moving closer to Fang Fan's direction. At this moment, she couldn't help showing a surprised expression on her face. His eyes flashed rapidly, and the corners of his mouth twitched violently. Messy thoughts are bursting out bit by bit at this moment. Mess. All of this is messed up. A mess of thoughts, a mess of thoughts. I also feel that my cultivation base has improved a bit, but it hasn't reached the level-breaking standard yet. At my step, it is too difficult to break through the steps. However, these cultivation bases that have improved me are enough to save me from 10,000 years of hard work. It's really incredible. Shui Wanren, deputy head of Guangming Academy, squinted his eyes, and then couldn't help but let out a sigh of emotion. While speaking, his lips moved slightly, and his thoughts were bursting out bit by bit. All feelings are slowly sweeping through at this moment. Perhaps it's because the energy condensed after the shattered steps fed back to us. This may be the initial benefit brought to us by the Pagoda Palace. However, it is not too optimistic at this time. Who can say for sure about this kind of thing? If something happens, we may sink into it completely, and then we will never be able to escape. So you have to be more careful. Opportunities and dangers have always gone hand in hand. Since there is such an opportunity now, to some extent, there will be a great crisis. That's the top priority we need to focus on. Fang Fan's eyes flickered. At this moment, there were about 40,000 to 50,000 people gathered at the door of the second floor. Originally, there were 200,000 people in the neutral camp, 100,000 people in the dark camp and 100,000 people in the light camp, plus more than 10,000 people from the Protoss, totaling more than 400,000 people. However, there were only about 300,000 people who went to the Buddha Palace before. Now 300,000 people were consumed on the first floor of the Futu Palace, and another wave was consumed by the steps on the first floor, leaving only 40,000 to 50,000 people left. If you pass through the second floor, how many people will be left? But at this moment, the 40,000 to 50,000 people standing at the gate of the second floor of the Buddha Palace all had smiles on their faces. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3939. After all, this cultivation base has been improved a wave, and this is really refreshing in my heart. It's so cool. All aspects are in rhythm, and at this time, the overall expansion is in place. For everyone, just climbing over the first floor of the Futu Palace has so many benefits. What if you continue to climb up? Not to mention those treasures, even if you can improve your cultivation level every time you climb a level, that would be great. Deep in my heart, these excited thoughts inevitably gathered. Looking at the tightly closed gate on the second floor of the Futu Palace, everyone's thoughts could not help but flutter. It would be a lie to say that I am not excited at this moment. The extremely surging heart is bursting into place bit by bit at this moment. My cultivation, unexpectedly skyrocketed a lot. Now I feel that the threshold of the Supreme Demigod realm is not impossible to cross. If I can get this enlightenment a few more times, I will really be able to break into the Supreme Demigod state. If it really comes to that time, who will be my opponent? Everything will be completely smashed. Yes. It's crushing. This is my way. This is my way. At that time, even if the Pope of Light, Yuan Hanlin, wants to suppress me, he will not be able to suppress me. You don't have to worry that if I get the divine ladder, he will take it away. Gudong. Hee hee. He. It's their loss that a supreme demigod like Pope Yuan Hanlin cannot enter the relic of God this time. But from another level, is this a gift from God to me? God bestowed me with these supreme benefits, I should be grateful to Dade. Yes. That's right. Am I the real child of luck? Could it be that all of this is set up for me? The first time I set foot in this Futuk palace, I felt an unwarranted sense of familiarity. Could it be that I have something to do with this Futuk palace? Or, I am actually the reincarnation of the true God? It's just that my current memory has been banned, so I don't know so many things for a while. If this is the case, then it is my great opportunity. Hold on, I must hold on. This secret must not be shared with anyone. In this world, there is no one worthy of my trust. When I completely transform into extraordinary, I really want to see what expressions you all have. Tisk. Tisk tisk. Interesting, very interesting. The posture of gnashing teeth is fully displayed, and the infinite brilliance in the eyes suddenly bursts out. The crazy rhythm is being suppressed bit by bit at this moment. Wang Tu, the first-class saint in the Temple of the Alliance of Light, clenched his fists tightly at this moment, looking a little dazed, with an extremely rosy complexion. Thinking of those possibilities, for a moment, the whole person fell into a state of extreme elegance. Stimulate. It's too exciting. Excited heart, trembling hands, a bright future is in sight. When I really transform into extraordinary, wouldn't it be easy to get rid of a little Fang Fan? At that time, I won't even pay attention to that old bastard, Pope Yuan Hanlin. The Temple of the Alliance of Light is mine. No. No, my structure must not be so small. What is the Temple of the Light Alliance? At that time, I will have already ascended to the God's domain, and I will be the supreme existence above the God's domain. At that time, no one can compare with me. Yes. That's right. Entering the realm of the gods, I am a master. I am the most invincible. Wang Tu has already fallen into his own imagination. The more I thought about it, the more excited I became, and the more I thought about it, the more excited I was. At this moment, cold sweat trickled down my forehead, and the sound of my breathing gradually became more rapid. With an excited heart and trembling hands, they are now sprinting forward bit by bit. Sprint to the top. Sprint back to the origin. Completely wipe out everything in the present moment. In this way, it will naturally follow the comfort. Right now, it's all about hedonism. Wang Tu's face was flushed with radiance at this moment, and he was full of energy. Saint Wang looks very energetic. It seems that Saint Wang had a lot of new insights in that wave just now. It seems that Saint Wang will reach a higher level in the way of cultivation just around the corner. On the side, Yuan Juxiang, another first-class saint in the Temple of the Light Alliance, subconsciously said. Before, Wang Tu regarded Yuan Juxiang as an existence of the same level. But now, he didn't even pay attention to Yuan Hanlin, the Pope of Light, so he suddenly felt that he had to talk nonsense with a mere existence of a strong demigod, and suddenly he was a little unhappy. But if this guy is willing to be loyal to him, at the moment, it can be regarded as a help. Yuan Juxiang, are you willing to recognize me as the master? Wang Tu raised his head arrogantly, and said a word, which inexplicably had an extremely strong comic effect. Just listening to it like this, my brain twitched subconsciously. That's it? Good guy. Do you know what the hell you're talking about? This blah blah blah, have you stopped playing? The gaudy rhythm is being torn apart little by little? Is that so? For a while, the rhythm was crushed into pieces, and I didn't know what to say, let alone how to express it. For a while, it was numb. The corner of Yuan Juxiang's mouth twitched, and a black line appeared on his forehead little by little. Where did the sand sculpture come from? Fortunately, Yuan Juxiang is still a sensible person, and he didn't turn his face immediately. Sage Wang is really a humorous person. It's a joke, it's a bit interesting. Heh, heh. Yuan Juxiang sneered, his eyes flickered silently, his thoughts gradually fluttered in an all-round way, and what he expressed probably meant this. It's relevant and true. As for those messy rhythms, I really don't remember much at the moment. The mind is very sensitive. Overall, it's not a big problem. Joke. What joke? Who has time to joke with you? Humph. I'm not afraid to tell you. I've learned a lot here. I have a hunch that in the near future I will be able to break through to the pinnacle demigod realm, and even step into the pseudo-god realm. If you are willing to be loyal to this god now, your benefits will naturally be indispensable in the future. When the god ascends to God's domain, I will hand over the Temple of Light Alliance to you to take care of. If not, you will be like this for the rest of your life. No future at all. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3940. Wang 2 swelled. And the expansion is not even a little bit. Completely distorted one's own will, making the whole person in a daze. Anyway, it's pretty. In a few words, there was an extremely strong sense of oppression, as if everything in front of him was about to be completely crushed into pieces. Such a gesture, let alone tell anyone. Excitingly don't want to. For a moment, he was completely numb at the moment, unable to speak a word. At the moment, I can only stare like this. For a while, my thoughts are flying, and I have nothing to say, nothing to say. Wang Tu said so. If Yuan Juxiang continued to play haha, he would really look like a coward. Snort. Wang Tu. Be careful. Even His Majesty the Pope has never spoken to me like that. You and I are at the same level, how dare you treat me so disrespectfully? One mouthful of one god at a time. Looks very noble. I saved enough face for you because we are both first-class saints in the Temple of the Light Alliance, but the fact now is that you don't want this face. Since that's the case, what else is there to say? As members of the Light Camp, if we can move forward together, then we can go together. If not, we can go our separate ways. If you insist on saying these disgusting words to disgust people, then get out. I'm too lazy to listen. Yuan Juxiang's eyes flickered with brilliance, and he had already spoken in place. The meaning is very simple: if you continue to babble nonsense, you will be hammered to death every minute. I really don't know what it means to be a bastard. He was chattering, and he didn't know what he was talking about, what he was making a fuss about. Anyway, the whole brain is about to explode. Chaos. All of this is now in chaos. This chaos is being created all the time. It made the whole person feel in a trance, which seemed extremely unnatural. A wave of bells and whistles. What else do you want to make trouble with? Want to die? Unreasonable trouble? Wang Tu was stunned for a moment. This guy actually rejected his offer? I am the person who is about to become a feathered ascension, and I will make you loyal. This is your chance. Can't you see this? Is this guy so stupid? What kind of messy things are in your mind? No matter how stupid you are, you can't be so stupid, right? Is it really fun to be so stupid? Don't feel it. Is it stretching your hips? Bai has such a big head? You. Short-sighted. Why? It will be like this for the rest of my life. One bite at a pope's crown. What is the pope? Believe it or not, when I leave the Buddha palace and the god's relic, the Pope Yuan Hanlin will prostrate in front of me and beg me to accept him. He. Even if I give you a chance, you won't take it? Fool. What a fool. Just wait and see. Wait until I break into the absolute demigod realm, wait until I step into the pseudo-god realm, then it will be too late for you to come here to curry favor with me. Wangtu, the first-class saint in the Temple of the Alliance of Light, held his head high, and what he said was justified. The more he talked, the more excited he became, and the more he spoke, the more heaving. For a while, the sound of breathing gradually became rapid, and the brilliance in his eyes also soared little by little. The inexplicable sense of surprise invaded the whole body and mind, and now I don't know how to express it. Anyway, for a while, it's very irritating. Very excited. Yuan Juxiang was speechless. Could it be that this guy was stimulated by something when he climbed the stairs before? Or is it that some evil spirit entered the body? Made it look crazy now. Yuan Juxiang shook his head. Naturally he had nothing to say to such a fool. The ghost knows what's going on in his head. Stupid to the extreme, it seems that there is still so much inspiration. It's all about wit. People from Feiyu Pavilion, come with me. If people in the Temple of the Light Alliance are willing to follow me, Yuan Juxiang, they can also follow me. Of course, if you insist on following Wangtu, I won't force you. But I want to remind you that Wangtu is a little out of order now. Well, I won't say much about the rest, and you can handle the rest yourself. That's all I can say. It's useless to say more. The cold snort was fully displayed, and the endless brilliance in the eyes was revealed little by little. For a while, it seemed that everything around was torn apart little by little, with a different kind of tingling and oppressive feeling. Yuan Juxiang was going to separate his family, and he was going to fight against Wangtu. Immediately, the 10,000 to 20,000 practitioners of the Light Camp gathered on the second floor of the Futuk Palace looked at each other, and they couldn't help but look at each other. At this moment, their eyes flickered, and the whole person fell into a kind of ignorance. Confused. Completely bewildered. What the hell, let me say a few words. Is there any hope for the Light Camp? The only two first-class saints, the only two strong demigods in charge, actually fell out. It even went directly to the point of standing up against each other. Why is this? In the end, the whole body and mind will explode. Damn, it's too difficult. An anxious heart, a messy heart, are frantically scratching and scratching. This time, there is absolutely nothing to say. Just followed all this in front of me so ignorantly, and then I couldn't say a single nonsense. Anyway, I was completely dumbfounded. That's it? Already followed the hemp. Nothing, just play. It's a mess, it's endless. The fast pace made me physically and mentally exhausted. What do you mean? Those two, fell out. Good guy, although their relationship wasn't very good before, they can be regarded as acquaintances after all, right? They can still say a few words to each other. At least the peace on the surface can still be maintained. Now it is our Guangming when the Alliance Temple and even the entire Light Camp are cooperating sincerely, they want to split up. And let us make a forced choice. Crap. It's a chicken to choose. No matter how you choose, you will offend the other family anyway. There's no way to play this. Isn't this embarrassing us? Isn't the Saint Yuan Juxiang too insignificant? Isn't this instigating rebellion? Maybe the cause of this matter is not because of the Saint Yuan Juxiang. What's the meaning? Oh. It's not because of him, who else could it be? What the hell, I've already seen it. This guy is not a good thing. I vomited, I really vomited. It's a mess, it's endless, isn't it? What's going on here? It seems that the Saint Wang asked the Saint Yuan Juxiang to be loyal to him. It's even more outrageous.